It's real. I know you're not going to believe that it's fucking real, but I need to show this to you. Okay, guys, I'm starting this show coming in hot. Yes, Lindsey Graham, yesterday, I swear to God on Twitter, and I'm going to prove it to you, wrote the following. I was excited to hear that President Trump is open to the idea of being the next pope. This would truly be a dark horse candidate, but I would ask the Papal Conclave and Catholic faithful to keep an open mind about this possibility. So I saw so many people on Blue Sky sharing this tweet. I did not believe it. I had to check it for myself. And let me tell you, so should you. So I'm bringing you over to the twitter.com, also known as X website, so you can fucking see this for yourself. Okay, you guys, we have to do this. So I am, as you can see, logged into Twitter. If you want to see my own account, I got nothing on it anymore. But here we go. Here's Lindsey Graham. You can look, I know that we're sharing this. You can see that I have not invented a Twitter page here. I don't, this is it, right? This is, this is it. This is Lindsey Graham. And I'm scrolling down now. And here we go. 15 hours ago, I was excited to hear that President Trump is open to the idea of being the next pope. This would truly be a dark horse candidate, right? But I would ask the Papal Conclave and Catholic faithful to keep an open mind about this possibility. The first Pope, US President combination has many upsides, watching for the white smoke. So what was he sharing with this? Guys, I am going to play this for you as well. Here we go.
As Pope? I'd like to be Pope. That would be my number one choice. No, I don't know. I have no preference. I must say we have a cardinal that happens to be out of a place called New York who's very good.
Okay, so he was asked, who do you think should be Pope? And Donald Trump sort of made what appears to be a joke. Well, I would like to be Pope. But even saying that is the height of arrogance. And then Lindsey, though, shares this. As I said, here we go. Lindsey, excited to hear these open to the idea of being the Pope. Now, are they trolling us? Yes. Are they half serious? Yes. Is it offensive? Entirely. Because as you remember, Donald Trump was the man who sat through the Pope's funeral half asleep, wearing a blue suit, and also is in a huge fight with the values of the Catholic Church, especially when it comes to immigration and human rights. Now, I know this may seem like a distraction, but it's not. It's the whole thing. Donald Trump is about Donald Trump, and you have to kiss his ring and pretend like he is not an idiot or your days are numbered. And so I want to talk to me about what is the most important thing in our lives right now, which is the complete annihilation of the US Constitution. We are in an authoritarian era right now. It's what I've been saying for weeks, and I think you now see it. The fact that we can have Americans, and we're going to talk about this, have their homes raided and their possessions confiscated violently by apparently the Immigration Service, despite the fact that they say and are Americans and their names aren't on any warrants, that can happen. The fact that we've seen two men who have been held in prison as U.S. citizens accused of being undocumented. And of course, the fact that Kilmar Abrego Garcia and the other men who did not get the due process that the U.S. Supreme Court said that they deserved are still sitting in prisons in El Salvador. And Donald Trump has been told that he needs to facilitate their return. I'm speaking specifically now of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He was told this by a judge in Maryland. He was told this by the United States Supreme Court. And his own lawyers are dragging their feet. Now, apparently, as you know, the whole The whole process, the discovery process, was put on hold by both parties' consent until today. And then we just recently had a order or request for an order to seal the whole record. So we don't know what's happening. But what I know today is there's been no reports of Kilmar Abrego Garcia coming home. And then we have this interview. We have this interview yesterday that I need to share with you. And this is kind of shocking, where Donald Trump is point blank told, or point blank asked in whether he could, or why won't he release Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And he sat down yesterday with ABC News reporter Terry Moran in the White House. And what's incredible about this interview is Donald Trump is on camera, and he admits that he's defying the United States Supreme Court. And in addition to that, there's more. There's more of his narcissism, and there's more of his threats. So let me first show you where Donald Trump admits that he could bring Abrego Garcia home. Now listen carefully to this, and we'll discuss it on the other side.
You could get him back. There's a phone on this desk.
I could.
You could pick it up, and with all the power of the presidency, you could call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
And if he were the gentleman that you say he is, I would do that.
But the court has ordered
not.
you to facilitate that.
I'm not the one making this decision. We have lawyers that don't want to do this.
I'm not the one making this decision. There could be no bigger lie than this. He is absolutely the one who has the power to make the decision, and his failure to say the words bring him home. It means that he is in defiance. Now he says we have lawyers who don't want to do it. Come on. That's bullshit. Lawyers don't make decisions. Lawyers advise clients about the consequences of acting one way or another. They are not the decision makers. They are the advisors, period. End of story. And he invited this guy, Terry Moran, into the White House. Never heard of him. You're going to hear about that in a moment. Trump had never heard of him, but he chose him. He chose this man who looked, I think, docile and compliant. White guy, handsome face, slim physique, blue eyes, met all of Donald Trump's stereotypes because he does everything from central casting. So let's hear what happens when Mr. Moran continues to act like a journalist. Donald Trump doesn't like that very much. Let's play.
We have to get him out, and we're doing it.
By law.
And you'll pick out one man, but even the man that you picked out, he said he wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute.
Well, wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
He had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshopped. So let me
That was Photoshop, Terry. You can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. But I picked you, Terry. Hey, but you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
Right. We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture.
And you think it was Photoshop? Well,
here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Don't look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine, sir. I want to get to Ukraine.
No. He had MS as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
when
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go on. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They weren't there, but they're there now, right?
No,
but they're there
in
now.
your picture.
Terry.
Ukraine, sir.
He's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay?
We'll take a look.
You do such a disservice.
We'll take a look at that,
Why don't you just say, yes, he does, and, go on to something else?
It's contested. Ukraine.
Wow. Ooh. So I wouldn't want to be Terry Moran. Some people are criticizing him. because he didn't say, no, Mr. President. No. He tried that and he said, let's move on. It's contested. He did everything. He would not say yes. Good for him. Donald Trump is a terrible, terrible person. And this is what he does when the cameras aren't on, and worse. Now, I'm not going to show you because you can Google this for yourself. The photos are clearly photoshopped. You can look at the image of his knuckles. Now, let me just say something. It's not unlawful to actually be in a gang. It's unlawful, though, if they can prove that those gang activities, for example, mean that you are part of a criminal conspiracy or part of RICO. But that's not even really the point here. The point here is that no thinking person who has looked at those could continue to argue that the tattoos on his knuckles say MS-13, number one. Number two, if you actually see the tattoos that people from MS-13 get, they're often on their faces, and they look actually say in really big letters, MS-13. So he wasn't doing a very good job if he was part of this gang representing it. But the most important thing here is that Donald Trump is saying, I'm going to defy the United States Supreme Court, despite their ruling, because I've independently decided, even though people have told me, and right now here, a reporter is challenging me that this guy is not a member of a gang, and that wouldn't be a crime, number one. Two, even if he were, the Supreme Court has said the Trump administration needs to facilitate his return. I think it's a cliche to call this a constitutional crisis. We are now in, and I don't want to use the word fascist because that's sort of like a throwaway word at this point. We live in an authoritarian nation now. This is not democracy. No, our institutions did not hold. And this is where we are. And I don't know what is next. I do know that there are people in the US, whole groups of people who lived in this nation for 400 years under brutal authoritarianism as well. You may think that we had democracy at the outset, but you might remember that we had slavery. We had a race-based caste system of brutal domination in this country, right? So we have a history of being perfectly fine with the contradictions between the ideals of democracy and oppressing people. So the reason why I mentioned that isn't to, to appease you. The reason why I mentioned that is, this America we live in has always been an ideal. And we either fight for it by standing up and recognizing what we want, or we let it slide away. And we are sliding backwards, not backwards in time, but actually sideways to part of a global movement of violent, repressive, white supremacist Christian authoritarianism, a la Vladimir Putin and Viktor Orban and Donald Trump. And the billionaires in this country, whether it be Elon Musk from raised and still has apartheid South Africa in his blood, whether it's Elon Musk or billionaire Jeff Bezos, who will bend the knee at any minute, and we'll get to that. They're okay with this system. It works fine for them. But it's not going to be working fine for us. And so I say, again, the reason why I hearken back to difficult times is it is where we are. And everyone's going to have to decide whether they hit the streets tomorrow for the May Day protests or some other time. But I go back to PRISM. This is so important for us right now. This is PRISM, P, physical health, R, relational health, I, intellectual health, S, spiritual health, M, mental health, PRISM. And I go back to this because I have a dear friend who said to me, her mother is in her 80s, and she's worried that her mother is actually worried and vocalized that she's afraid she won't live to see the other side of this. And I guess what I have to say is, and this is going to be a little bit zen, but there never is another side of anything. And we have to be happy warriors and creative souls and loving individuals and complex thinkers through whatever period of history we are in, because it would otherwise be depressing and exhausting. And I have felt these things, and I know that you have, just wanting to say, when will this end? But these things are cycles. And what I will say is, I do want this to end in my lifetime. And I hope that will happen, but we must take care of ourselves and live our lives as we watch what unfolds and try to push this country closer to the ideals that we put on paper and farther from this domineering clown posse that is running the country. Now, I got to say that, and I think that you may enjoy this. There are so many, I got to say, it's hard to choose sometimes how many idiots there are. And so in the Trump administration. And so actually laughing at them makes me feel a hell of a lot better. And I guess where I come from sometimes is the school of Charlie Chaplin. I know I'm reaching back into the past, but he made a film called The Dictator. I don't know if you're familiar with this Chaplin film called The Great Dictator. And The Great Dictator was actually made in 1940. And what's very funny, and I think I can show you some images from The Great Dictator. Here we go. I just want to show you this. I'm going to share this with you so you know a little bit more about this. Okay, here we go. I'm going to share this with you. I know some of the folks watching this may be film buffs, or maybe you even remember watching this. You can watch it on YouTube. But I want to tell you the power of comedy. So here we go. I don't know if you can see what I'm looking at. I think you can. So here we go. This is right here, an article from about 15 years ago about the Great Dictator. So it's called The Great Dictator, not The Dictator. And this piece, this is a photo, a screenshot from the movie. And The Great Dictator, it was this person in the Phelim O'Neill was writing for The Guardian, saying that this is the 22nd best comedy film of all time, according to this person. So look at this photo. It's 1940 when he made this film. And you can see to the back of Charlie Chaplin, and on his hat are X's, kind of meant to look like swastikas. And the deal is, I want to read this to you because I think you'll appreciate this. Adolf Hitler was, of course, guilty of many crimes, but it's tempting to think that what annoyed Charlie Chaplin the most was his appropriation of his trademark tash, the mustache. This was Chaplin's first true talkie and his biggest hit. And it also an incredibly brave and progressive film that seems specifically designed to irritate Hitler personally. Chaplin plays both a Jewish barber and a comically paranoid and ruthless dictator called Adenoid Hinkle, riffing on Mark Twain's The Prince and the Pauper. Each man is mistaken for the other, right? So you have Chaplin playing this Jewish barber who looks exactly like this dictator Hinkle. And it's not just Hitler who gets mocked. Goebbels becomes garbage. Mussolini becomes a buffoonish Napolini. And it was unsurprisingly not released in Germany. Okay, so you know a little bit about this film. So what's so funny, though, and so remarkable, is that this film comes out in 1940, right? This is after the invasion of Poland. It's when Hitler is rising more to power. And if you think about this is well into his reign. I mean, he was essentially the dictator of Germany from 1933 until his own suicide in 1945, right? But I don't think in 1940 many Americans wanted to focus on what Hitler was doing in Germany, right? Not so much in 1940. By 1941, December 7th, we had the war come to the United States from the Pacific Front with the bombing of Pearl Harbor. But in 1940, folks in the US, many were not wanting to face reality. And I see us kind of at a turning point right now, where are we in the US living right here, facing the reality of what's in front of us? Because Donald Trump will do anything and everything to make sure he stays in power. He is not joking about wanting to be president again and becoming president in 2028. And we might think that's impossible. Nothing's impossible. I don't think it's probable, though. But the point I'm making right now is that we need to laugh as hard as we can at these people in power because they hate it the most. Our ability to do what they hate, which is don't show them reverence, don't show them love, don't say they're so smart, right? It's you saw on the ABC News interview with Terry Moran how much respect is important to Donald Trump. Don't give him that respect. Just don't. Now, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about, what I want us to laugh the hell out of. Here we go. Okay, this is, it's great. Yesterday, Pam Bondi put this up on Twitter. Today is Fentanyl Awareness Day. In President Trump's first 100 days, we've seized over 22 million fentanyl-laced pills, saving over 119 million lives. Holy shit. Do you know how funny this is? James Suryecki says, if not for the valiant efforts of Pam Bondi and Trump's Department of Justice, 1/3 of all Americans would have died. That is the math. We have around 330 million Americans. And somehow Trump has saved 1/3 of our entire population from certain death. I guess it's 340 million, whatever, close enough. These people are stupid. And I love that we can laugh at them at the very same time we recognize how absolutely dangerous they are. Now, so we've spoken a little bit about law, about how Donald Trump is openly defying the United States Supreme Court. And I think it's worth mentioning that the United States Supreme Court is a little bit being hoisted by their own petard at this point. Remember, that means blasted by your own explosives that you've set up. The Roberts Court did decide that it was perfectly fine for Donald Trump or any president to violate criminal law and remain immune from prosecution almost entirely. Now, we can get into the nitty-gritty about how if the actions a president takes are not part of their, if they're not sort of part of their responsibilities, part of their office, if it's just private as well as instead of their public service, then it wouldn't actually be immune. But there is a core central area of power emanating from Article 2 of the Constitution, which includes the pardon power, which would include anything under the rubric of national security for which there is absolute immunity from criminal prosecution. And I believe this is 100% true, even for quid pro quo bribes in exchange for pardons, because the pardon power is at the heart of the power. So that's one. Two, the Supreme Court also said, well, in the sort of exterior perimeter of the job responsibilities, if it's part of his official duties, even if it's not part of that sort of Article 2 core, if he's kind of at work when he's doing things, then there's going to be a rebuttable presumption of immunity that's very hard to overcome. So Donald Trump is running with that. And he pretty much thinks he can commit any crime he wants while he's in office, because there's a policy of not prosecuting him when he's in office. But the Supreme Court has made clear that basically his activities while he's in office, he can't be prosecuted for them when he's in office, or really ever, basically what we're saying. And how does Donald Trump get people to go along with him? He will pardon them. Now, the only hope, the only risk that anyone would have in not following Donald Trump's orders or going along with his criminal activities right now would be that he would not pardon them, either because he didn't have time, chose not to, they didn't pay enough money for it, or he died before the pardon was issued. So where we are right now, thank you, U.S. Supreme Court, is we have a man who has been empowered by his own narcissism, by the United States Supreme Court, who is openly on national television saying he has the power, but is refusing to follow a court order. And this is where we are. And so the law does not exist for Donald Trump. Sure, it exists for the rest of us. We've talked about the dual state, right? This is something Ernst Frankl wrote about, the book, The Dual State, this idea that when you live in an authoritarian regime, there are two systems of government, two systems of laws. There is the prerogative state, where you get to do what you want if you're connected enough to the central power. And then there's a normative state, where we have to follow the norms and laws, the rest of us. So that is the world we are living in. Okay, what does that mean outside of law? Well, let me tell you. And then we're going to get to the articles of impeachment and protesting. We need on this show to talk about law, money, and power. So let's talk a little bit more about the money situation. We've spoken already about how the die is cast and that we are going to have empty shelves and pain going forward, thanks to the import taxes and the whole tariff, the whole trade war we have engaged in. So Donald Trump has promised he's going to straighten all of this out. A little over 2 weeks ago, they said they'd have 90 deals in 90 days. Now Donald Trump's team is recognizing that other countries' leaders follow the law. Like Donald Trump imposed all of these import taxes across the board without getting Congress's consent. And we've spoken about this before. Sometimes he's drawn on different laws. One of the main laws he's drawn on is called IEEPA, the International Economic Emergencies Power Act, IEEPA, Powers Act. And this has been used in the past, for example, during the Iraq War, when Congress creates this law, and then the president would impose sanctions on countries so that U.S. businesses can't trade with them, for example. So Donald Trump has tried to use this International Economic Emergency Powers Act to say that he doesn't need to consult with Congress when he does these, when he issues executive orders or issues tariffs, that he has the power to create law because it's been delegated to him under this statute. Now, of course, as I've mentioned, the state of Oregon and other states are challenging this, but law moves like molasses in January, and the legal challenges don't really matter in the short term because we have a major recession on its way. Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan Chase has said just this week that the best case scenario is a recession. Those are the facts. But we still have people shucking and jiving for Donald Trump. Let's listen to Kevin Hassert speaking right now, not right now, but speaking yesterday on CNN.
Unnamed deal that was close. The president is talking about India. Can you just tell us in a clear way, what deal are we close to and where do things stand with India? Is that the deal in question?
Yeah, I mean, there are multiple deals that are extraordinarily close, especially with our Asian trading partners. Secretary Lutnick and Bessent and I were in the Oval yesterday discussing it with the president, and we've seen sketches of deals. I'm not going to put, deals that aren't signed in front of the American people until the president's ready to do that, and the foreign governments are ready to do it. But the thing that I can say that I've been astonished at is how much access to foreign markets U.S. producers are going to have because of these deals.
So that's Kevin Hassett smiling and lying through his teeth. And maybe lying is the wrong word. Dissembling, spinning. What he's saying, it's like want. Whatever they say about deals that are on their way, they're not signed, right? You can say, yeah, I have my house on the market. You have not sold your home until the agreement is inked and you get to closing and the title is transferred from you to the buyer. That's a fact. And so all this chit chat about we have conversations, as they used to say, put a ring on it. There ain't no deals. They fucked this up majorly. Now, I got to talk to you, though, about something a lot more serious. And I think you probably have seen this on major news stations. It's something that came across my way on Twitter. And that is that 2 days ago, and this is so confusing, that it's very confusing what actually happened. And we're trying to better understand about this mother and daughter. But I did share this the other day 2 days ago on Blue Sky or yesterday, I'm sorry, on Blue Sky. And what I want to say about this is that there is a mother and daughter living in Oklahoma City who reportedly was woken up in the middle of the night. It was raining. 20 men broke into their home, claiming to have a warrant, which, according to the reporting she saw later, did not have her name on it, had the previous tenants. She'd moved to Oklahoma a couple weeks ago. Her husband was planning to join them this weekend, and woken up in the middle of the night. 20 people came in. They said they were from ICE, and they were from the FBI, and they were from U.S. Marshals. And she said, I'm a U.S. citizen, and they didn't listen. They turned the house upside down. They took all the money she had, and this is what the story that she's saying is. Now, and I don't mean to discredit her account. I'm just letting you know what has been reported. And it is, I think maybe the best way to share this with you is probably how Rachel Maddow shared it last night, because she's got the whole thing right here. So what I want to do is I want to pull that up for you right now and share that screen for you, because it's remarkable. It's remarkable what happened to this woman, and that we are getting not clear stories from the FBI or the Department of Homeland Security as to what happens here. And we must demand answers. This is yet another story of a person who is a U.S. citizen here we go. This is another, I'm going to show this now. This is another U.S. citizen facing what again appears to look more like
we have to get him out, and we're doing.
Oops, sorry, I got the wrong thing. This is more looks more like Nazi Germany than the United States. So let us. I'm going to share this screen, and I think I got this for you. There's Rachel. Let's go.
That I think is very important from a local news station. And this is not about someone fighting back against Trump. It is actually not about politics at all. It is about the character of what Trump has done to the government and what Trump is doing to the country. It's about what he has agents of the federal government doing in the United States, the real life consequences of this shambolic mess that he has made of the US government in just this short amount of time that he has been back in office. So this is from KFOR, which is the NBC affiliate in Oklahoma City. They aired this report last night in their 10 p.m. local news. They told us today that they had such an overwhelming response from their viewers reacting in shock to this story, that they continue to work the story today. They featured it again tonight with updated reporting on their primetime broadcast at dinner time. So I'm going to show it to you. I mean, I know everybody in the national media is doing their, 100 days of Trump reviews or whatever right now. Honestly, here's mine. For me, I think this local news report, this is kind of all you need to know about this president and his character and the character of his leadership and the government that he runs and what he is doing to this country. Just watch this.
New at 10, a family traumatized after armed federal agents busted into their home as they were sleeping and took almost everything they own. Problem is, they were not the people agents were supposed to be looking for.
News 4's Spencer Humphrey is here with their frightening ordeal. Spencer, what's going on here?
Yeah, well, get this. That family just moved here about 2 weeks ago from out of state. And this is how their life in Oklahoma got started. They say they told federal immigration agents they had the wrong people, but those agents kept treating them like criminals, even though they're all U.S. citizens.
Fear.
Because I did feel at times I felt I was going to die.
So much fear.
I kept praying. I said, God, please let me live through this moment.
Humiliation.
I was a zero. I was nothing.
Pure disbelief.
I just couldn't understand, how is this happening to us?
All just for wanting a fresh start.
You come to Oklahoma and you get treated like this. For what?
This woman, who we're calling Marissa, and her 3 daughters came to Oklahoma from Maryland looking for a slower, more affordable pace of life. They rented this house in a nice, seemingly safe Northwest Oklahoma City neighborhood. Her husband planned to join them this past weekend, but any semblance they had of comfort went out the window when 20 men armed to the teeth busted through it Thursday morning.
I don't know who they were. They had guns. It was dark. All the lights were off.
They were federal agents, Marissa says, with the U.S. Marshals, ICE, and the FBI.
And I kept asking them, like, who are you? What are you doing here? What's happening? And they said, we have a warrant for the house.
They ordered Marissa and her daughters outside into the rain before they could even get dressed.
They wanted me to change in front of all of them, in between all of them.
The thing is, the suspect names on that search warrant were not Marissa's or anyone in her family's. They were, however, names listed on mail still arriving at the house. Former residents, perhaps.
We just moved here from Maryland. We're citizens. That's what I kept saying. We're citizens.
She says they didn't care.
We weren't criminals. Why were they treating us like criminals? We were here by ourselves. That we didn't do anything.
The agents ripped apart every square inch of the house, taking their phones, laptops, documents, and their life savings in cash as evidence.
Like, I have to feed my children. I'm gonna need gas money. I need to be able to get around. Like, how do you just leave me like this, like an abandoned dog?
And when they left, they told her something.
I know it was a little rough this morning. It was so denigrating. Like, you do all of this to a family, to women, your fellow citizens, and it was a little rough. You have literally traumatized me and my daughters for life.
This family has virtually nothing.
And I said, when are we going to get our stuff back? He was like, it could be days or it could be months.
Nothing but questions.
Well, what if I would have been armed? What if you're breaking in? What am I supposed to think? My initial thought is we were being robbed. My daughter's being free. My daughter's being kidnapped.
Nothing but likely lifelong trauma.
We have guns pointed at our faces. Can you just reprogram yourself and see us as humans, as women, a little bit of mercy, and care a little bit about your fellow human mate, about your fellow citizen, like fellow resident. We bleed too. We bleed just like anybody else bleeds. We were scared. You could see in our faces that we were terrified.
Marissa says the agents refused to leave any contact information or business cards. She believes the agents wore logos connected to ICE, the U.S. Marshal Service, and the FBI. Today, the U.S. Marshal Service says their team was not involved. We also reached out to the FBI asking about that agency's level of involvement. Last week, they told us they assisted in this case. Late this afternoon, they told us they were not on the scene. They told us to contact Homeland Security, so we did. A spokesperson told us they would look into it and get back.
They would look into it and get back to us. Okay. There's no justification for this. This woman who's going by the name Marissa is brave and frightened and should be. I can't imagine being her or her daughters. Many of us who have suffered through traumas, I'm sorry, it would be hard to watch what that was, right? And this is happening right here in America, and this should be front page news. This is an American citizen. So what I'm looking for now is I would like to see, I haven't seen it, but I'd like to see that search warrant. I would like to see the names of the people involved, because either this is, we have we have authorities saying, well, they assisted or they knew about it, but now they're backing off. This is not okay at all, right? So just placing that there for us. Now, some hope. As you may have heard, we are now at the end of April. I know you know that, but what you may have heard is that there are rallies as part of the 50 states, 50 protests, one movement. And I'm going to share that with you. And so if you want to, you can try to find your rally. I know that major cities, I think there's over 1,000 of these being planned, largely in major cities. So here's this, you can look in many places. I'm going to drop this link into the chat. It's pretty easy to find. 5051 all spelled out. And I'm going to lift that up here. Oops, I didn't want to do that. I want to lift this up. 5051. And sorry, guys, I know people are talking in the chat right now about how shocked and horrified they are. Take that energy wherever you can, on the phone with your member of Congress, but more specifically to a protest. May 1st, tomorrow, May Day strong, National Day of Solidarity, Stop the Billionaire Takeover. We are the many, they are the few. And you can find an event by clicking here, for example, and you can go, if you want to find an event, the way this works is there's a map. I'm going to show you how to walk through this. You click on this map, and let's say you live in, let's say you live in, I don't know, you live in near Worcester, Massachusetts. You could find it here. You live in Detroit, go to Roosevelt Park. You live in South Carolina. You can go to Rock Hill, South Carolina. So again, please see if you can find where your protest is. So this is where we are. And I see, thanks, Roberta. What about deporting little American children? Roberta, yes, I did speak about that before. And it's terrible. Mothers being coerced to either separate from their babies who are American citizens or take them with them. We've had situations where at least we've seen 3 children who are American citizens pressured to or forced to be exiled, not even deported, even when situations where, for example, the father is a U.S. citizen trying to keep the child here. There's a U.S. citizen who is a child who has cancer and was exiled, disappeared, I suppose. I mean, I don't know how to use the word deported, but I can put deported in quotes without her cancer medication. This is who these people are. Now, I got one more thing before Crazy Town. Two more things for Crazy Town. Yes, we have had Sri Tanadar, who is a congressman from Detroit, the Detroit area, U.S. Congress, and in my district, the 13th Congressional District of Michigan, who has introduced articles of impeachment. That's great, I think. But the bottom line is, whenever this happens, the onus has to be on Republicans. I'm getting a little frustrated where people are asking Democrats, do you think this is a good idea or not? The news should be asking Republicans, when are you going to stand up and stop this lawless president? So we can get into the details of that, but I am glad that we have the first round of articles of impeachment introduced in the House, and we'll see where that goes. Obviously, the only way there'll be a trial in the House is if there are a majority of members of Congress in the House. And so that means getting Republicans on board to vote for this. Right now, that does not exist. Similarly, in a trial in the Senate, we need 2/3 of senators present. So if 100 are there, 67 of them to vote to convict and remove Donald Trump. This is on the Republicans. So good for my congressmen for introducing those articles of impeachment. But they don't do enough yet. Now, the most exciting thing that I have seen so far, and it was like the glimmer of a hope yesterday, I'm sure you heard about this. It leaked in the news, and it's accurate, that Amazon was going to put on your receipt, you know how when you check out at Amazon and it will say, this is how much this item you're buying costs. This is assuming you use Amazon or any website. It will say how much it's going to cost. They'll tell you what your tax is, like your sales tax and your shipping. And those items will be lined up. And the reason why they break it down is because you think you're buying something for a certain price and suddenly it's a lot more. They're trying to tell you, look, this is what the product is. This is the sales tax from the state you're living in. And again, this is what it costs to ship. And then you can sort of see how it breaks out. Well, Amazon was, according to this leak, planning to also include on that checkout receipt how much the tariff. So this is the import tax, right? Essentially the customs duty, what part of your final bottom line price is from that. And it was really a story in the news. And this was a real deal. And it was all over the news yesterday morning. And the bottom line is they wanted the public to see how much these tariffs were costing them. Now, Donald Trump flipped the fuck out about this. He absolutely did not want this to happen. And apparently, Amazon backed off after Donald Trump got on the phone with him. I'm not bullshitting you. We even had Stephen Miller confirm that. So the bottom line here is that Trump got on the phone with Jeff Bezos and said, you can't do this. And Jeff Bezos crumbled, right? The plan was to give the cost of these tariffs to customers so they could see it. Now, this is absolutely insane because Donald Trump is the person who said Americans aren't paying the tariff. This is being paid by foreign governments. So if that's the case, why would they object to us seeing how much that tariff was? The reality is the only way that he can do this to us is if we have greedy cowards. Alexander Solzhenitsyn said the simple step of a courageous individual is not to take part in the lie. Jeff Bezos is a coward and he is greedy. And I think that I want you to see how this went down. As soon as it leaked in the news that Amazon was going to do this, Carolyn Leavitt, right, our Ava Braun Barbie, used her platform as press secretary to blast Amazon And this is, let me just show you what happened here. Okay, so this is BBC that's mentioning Trump calls Bezos as Amazon says no plan to show tariff prices. Let's see what actually happened. Here we go. Sorry, we've got an ad here.
Excuse me?
Keeping food waste out of the landfill is better for Mother Earth.
Okay.
I think you could grind this stuff.
I'm going to stop sharing for a second until that goes away. So guys, this would have been great, but Jeff Bezos cares more about his pocketbook than he cares about the rest of us. Okay, so let's go now and let me share. Here we go.
With the president about Amazon's announcement. This is a hostile and political act by Amazon. Why didn't Amazon do this when the Biden administration hiked inflation to the highest level in 40 years? And I would also add that it's not a surprise because, as Reuters recently wrote, Amazon has partnered with a Chinese propaganda arm. So this is another reason why Americans should buy American. It's another reason why we are onshoring critical supply chains here at home to shore up our own critical supply chain and boost our own manufacturing here.
Is Jeff Bezos still a Trump supporter?
Look, I will not speak to the president's relationships with Jeff Bezos, but I will tell you that this is certainly a hostile and political action by Amazon.
Okay, so that's what they did. And I guess Jeff Bezos has decided that having Donald Trump and his team trash him costs him too much money because I guess he needs more jets and more yachts and more new wives. And then he backed off. Okay, so that's where we are. I guess another reason not to shop at Amazon. So there you go. For a lot of people who cannot, though, travel, who don't have cars or have physical disabilities, and Amazon sometimes is the best option for ordering groceries, for ordering goods that they need. But remember, we can try to find other methods, other ways to not support the people who cave to Donald Trump. Okay, guys. So now I have for you the craziest of crazy towns. Here we go. Let's do it. So crazy town today is watching people still kind of not have that light bulb moment, who don't actually realize that Donald Trump was never there for them and isn't going to save them. And here I'm going to show you the clip of a Trump supporter who owns her own nonprofit. It's really a good enterprise. Seems like a lovely person who still thinks he's going to come save her. Let's play.
But, I think that if he doesn't come through, he's going to have a lot of people turning on him.
You're feeding people, but to you, the more important thing is training people who have challenges.
Yes.
It's inspiring to spend time with Tamara Varga and very instructive as we assess President Trump at the 100-day mark.
It is my passion and it's my calling. I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. It fulfills my life and it blesses me.
She leads a nonprofit that employs 50 people with special needs, 2 food trucks and a sweet shop right now, and she's renovating a restaurant to employ even more. She's still a Trump supporter and she's happy with a lot of what she sees, but she's worried about some big stuff close to home.
I'm worried about Medicaid and Medicare and Social Security. He did say that he wasn't going to cut them, that he was just going to find the waste, and I really hope that he sticks to that.
Why is that so important to you?
We need to take care of our people with disabilities and our elderly and those that depend on it. And they can't survive as it is right now, and we cannot cut.
Varga is a lifelong Republican, but is open now, she says, to backing some Democrats for local office. And while she still backs Trump, she says she sometimes agrees with friends who criticize him. And she says the president better be right when he says the economic pain caused by his tariff threats will disappear soon.
I have no words. I have no words. This is a genuinely good person who is just far too trusting. And I don't know what it will take for her to get it. And I don't think someone like her should have to suffer. But here we are. And that's the crazy town I've got for you. I'll see you tomorrow. May 1. Have a lovely last day of April, friends.
Hello, prison mates. It's the Gen Taub show where how come everyone let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There is hope and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Gen Taub show.